This is Spencer, your Tampa Bay wallpaper installer.
I have a sheet of very fine wallpaper. Take a look. It matches at the top, right? See, it's perfectly aligned here. This doesn't have any adjoining match. This repeating leaf matches perfectly there, right? So far, no ripples, so it matches here. On each repeat, it matches on the first and second one. Watch this now. It's only matching there because I have it hemmed up. I will call it, okay? It's hemmed up here. So now, if I straighten out this ruffle here, this wrinkle, it won't meet down there, right? It won't meet over here. Or if I do that, it won't meet up there. So do you understand? It's only meeting because I've hemmed it up. If I pull this out, it's going to be as much off here as the length of this ruffle, which is almost 3/4 of an inch. So how do you fix it? How do you make it match? I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay. Now this happens when you're dealing with walls that aren't straight. Okay, that's why it's happening. It's not the wallpaper. It's not the wallpaper hanger either. It's the walls. And it's been going on in this job. I've been having to work wallpaper miracles on this particular assignment. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find an inconspicuous piece of this paper through which I can put a slice where there's the least amount of color. Okay? So I'm thinking right here. We're going to only cross 2 holes. See this? Like right here. I'll cut it and then we can overlap it. Now, granted, it's not a great idea to put a seam eye level. I understand that. But the risk of seeing the cut over a very busy area of the wallpaper is far worse a problem. And so we have to find an area where we have to cut it. Now, do you understand why we're cutting this paper? There's no way to make up for this. There's just no way to do it. Okay? Don't blame yourself if you're hanging paper and it's not matching up and you've got an old house. It might be your fault. You might have overstretched the paper, but this is such a significant amount of this disparity. If it were off 1/4 of an inch, I'd say, you better take that off and stretch it out again. But this is actually a result of the wall being off. Okay, so what we're going to do is cut it. We have to cut it. And I want it level. I want the cut level. And then we're going to overlap it. The material that we cut, we're going to overlap it. So that we can use that to make up for our ridiculous overlap. Okay, here goes. Nice and straight, quickly. Don't delay. Don't take your time either. Okay, there's the cut. Now, watch how it relaxes now after we do this cut. Okay, so there's the cut. Now, don't panic. It's going to overlap here. this. So now we're stretching this out. The more it stretches, the better. I'm going to wet it underneath it, because I want to get as much overlap now as I possibly can. It's not ideal to have 3/16 overlap and try to get a blade in between 3/16 of an inch. Do you know what I'm saying? So now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to apply more glue. Why? This helps the paper stretch. It helps the paper stretch. It helps me accomplish what I want to do here. And you might say, oh, why didn't you use the bongus strip? Why didn't you use that? For those of you who know what it is, the polycarbonate shield. Well, I put my knife through it. That's the reason for that. I cut through it. So that's why I didn't use that. See what I'm saying here? The paper is now, I'm going to try to stretch it and bring more paper up around that new seam, okay? Pull this down too, because I need some meat on that wallpaper. I gotta cut through that. You see the overlap here? Do you see it forming? You see that little ridge, right? I mean, I'm only human. I need the more, the better. You know what I'm saying? Now, ideally, it would be better to cut when it's dry. But you can't do a repair like that with dry wallpaper. No way. So it's got to be done during a less than ideal period, and that is the wet period. Now, this is rusty. If I cut against this, I'm sure to get rust in there. Not a good idea. Okay? Ideally, you want something just as long as that seam is going to be, so that we don't have a stop in the blade. You want to get a continuous cut. I'm letting the overlap set up, and I'm going to continue this on the second part. So that's what we did, so that you understand what happened here. This wall is not plumb, so when I hung this paper to this, I have a 3.5 inch sheet that came off of this sheet. And I had to do a lot of working of this piece to make it straight. Even more with the next one. Alright? So now, when you manipulate the paper like that, you knock the paper out of square. It knocks out of square. What does that mean? Well, if you just hold up a piece of 8.5 by 11, your computer paper, right? If it's easier to see with a piece of white paper. You stretch that paper, you will no longer have a square. You'll have a little going here, a little going there. And that's what's happening with the wallpaper. And so it's magnified by when you have to keep matching this pattern. And we have to stop it here. If I don't stop it here, it'll continue and get worse and worse and worse as I go along the room. Now, this is a bathroom we're in. I assume I'm going to be saved by a mirror here. This is not junk science here. You have to come up with a way to make the paper look beautiful. And this is the way you do it, okay? If you look close at a wallpaper hanger's job, he's made or she has done some things to hide the faults of himself, but also of the walls, okay? And also of the paper. Sometimes paper, the ink comes off. So here we go. I'm going to do this on part 2. See you on the next one. This is Spencer, your Tampa Bay wallpaper installer, coming to you from sunny St. Pete. If you like the video, click on like. Do me a favor, subscribe to my channel. I take time out of my job so that I can share these very tricky things with you, and so it costs me time. Please subscribe to my channel so that you help me out as well. See you on frame 2.